Months later, Rachel's curiosity got the better of her. She had picked up an old, worn-out copy of New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Nintendo 3DS from a garage sale, the gold cartridge glinting in the sun. "Oh, hell no," Brandon said when she presented it to him, the fear of their previous encounter with the corrupted Mario games etched on his face. Rachel shrugged, her expression determined. "One of these has to be normal eventually," she said, her voice laced with a hint of defiance. "Besides, if it's not, we'll just destroy it like we did with the others." They took the game into the backyard, the setting sun casting long shadows across the lawn. Rachel inserted the cartridge into the 3DS with a sense of trepidation that she couldn't shake. Brandon hovered over her shoulder, his eyes darting around, expecting the worst. The screen flickered to life, and the familiar tune played out, but Rachel's heart skipped a beat when she saw the first glitch, a slight tear in the fabric of the game's world. "This isn't good," she murmured. But instead of the horror they had faced before, the game played out as expected, with the cheery, colorful world of the Mushroom Kingdom spread out before them. They let out a collective sigh of relief. "Maybe we're in the clear this time," Rachel said, her voice hopeful. They sat on the porch steps, passing the 3DS back and forth as they played. The game was challenging, sure, but it was the Mario they knew and loved. For the first time in a long while, they felt a sense of nostalgia that wasn't tainted by fear. The sun dipped below the horizon, leaving them in the soft glow of the 3DS's screen. They laughed and cheered as they worked together to conquer the levels, collecting coins and stomping on Goombas like old times. Rachel felt a warmth in her chest, the fear of their past adventures slowly giving way to the joy of the present moment. It was just the two of them, playing a video game like any other couple, and for now, that was enough. As they played on, the night grew darker, and the shadows grew longer. Rachel's thoughts began to wander, her mind playing tricks on her. The familiar sounds of the game began to sound eerie, the music just a bit too cheerful in the quiet night. She shivered and looked up at Brandon, who had his eyes glued to the screen. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Brandon nodded, but Rachel could see the tension in his jaw. They had both been holding their breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it never did. They played until the battery on the 3DS died, the screen fading to black. Rachel took it as a sign and turned to Brandon with a smile. "Maybe we can keep this one," she suggested. "It seems safe." They took the cartridge inside, placing it carefully on the shelf with their other games. Rachel couldn't help but look back at it, wondering if it was truly harmless. But as she turned away, she caught Brandon's eye. He was smiling too, and for the first time since they had been sucked into the world of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Rachel felt like they had won more than just the game. They had conquered their fear of what lay within the pixels. The game remained on the shelf, a silent sentinel of their victory. It was a constant reminder of the strength they had found within themselves, the bond that had been forged in the fires of the digital hell they had faced together. And even though the memory of the eyeless, demonic Mario lurked in the back of their minds, they knew that as long as they had each other, they could conquer any challenge that came their way, be it in the real world or the pixelated realms of their favorite childhood games. But the night had a way of playing tricks on the mind, and it was in the quiet hours that Rachel's fear grew. Each night, as they lay in bed, the whispers of the Mushroom Kingdom's despair seemed to echo in her dreams. And even though Brandon held her tight, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them, waiting for its chance to strike. One fateful evening, Rachel's nightmare came true. As they slept, the game on the shelf began to glow an eerie red, the light pulsing in time with the beating of her racing heart. The walls of their room seemed to melt away, and when Rachel opened her eyes, she found herself standing in the Mushroom Kingdom once again, the 3DS clutched in her hand. But this time, she was alone. Brandon awoke with a start, the echoes of Rachel's terrified screams still ringing in his ears. He looked around frantically, his heart hammering in his chest. Rachel was gone, the side of the bed cold and empty. His eyes fell on the 3DS, lying on the floor where it had fallen from the shelf. The red glow was gone, but the fear remained, a palpable presence in the room. "Mario," he murmured, the name tasting bitter on his tongue. He knew what had happened. The monster had found a way out of the game and into their world. He had taken Rachel, and it was up to him to get her back. With trembling hands, Brandon picked up the 3DS, the weight of it feeling heavier than ever before. He turned it on, the screen flickering to life with the chilling message. "Thank you for playing New Super Mario Bros. 2. Press start to continue." With a deep breath, Brandon pressed the button, his eyes never leaving the screen. The game world swirled around him, the colors dark and twisted. The music was a cacophony of discordant notes, the once cheerful melody now a taunt that filled him with dread. He had to save Rachel, no matter what it took. The journey ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Brandon had faced worse. He had battled a monster and lived to tell the tale. He had seen the true face of his childhood hero and survived. This time, he would not just fight for the fate of the Mushroom Kingdom, he would fight for love. And as he jumped into the game, the determination in his heart was stronger than any power-up. The world was different this time. The once vibrant landscape was now a wasteland of despair, the sky a sickly green that matched the pallor of the moon above. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the once friendly inhabitants of the kingdom were now twisted shadows of their former selves. Brandon knew he had to be careful. One wrong move and he could become trapped in this hellish version of his favorite game forever. The castle loomed in the distance, the same one they had fought to save so many times before. But this time, it was the prison of his worst nightmare. Rachel was in there, and Brandon would not rest until he had torn it down brick by brick if necessary. He ventured forth, his heart racing with each step. The game threw everything it had at him, deadly traps, relentless enemies, and mind-bending puzzles. But he pushed on, driven by the thought of Rachel's smile and the sound of her laughter. It was a long and treacherous journey, but Brandon was fueled by love and the desire to set things right. As he approached the castle gates, the ground trembled beneath his feet. The castle grew before him, the once cheerful architecture now twisted into a grotesque parody of its former self. The doors swung open, and the demonic laughter of Mario echoed through the corridors. Rachel's voice, faint but clear, called out to him. "Brandon! Help me!" With a roar, Brandon charged into the castle, his resolve unshakable. The battle that awaited him was like none he had ever faced, a dance of fire and steel, of light and shadow. But he knew that he could not fail, for Rachel was counting on him. The castle's interior was a labyrinth of pain, each room a testament to the twisted mind of the creature that had taken Rachel. As Brandon ventured deeper, the walls seemed to close in, the air thick with dread. His heart pounded in his chest, the sound echoing through the emptiness. He knew he had to keep moving, that every second wasted could mean the end for Rachel. The final door stood before him, a grim sentinel that seemed to dare him to enter. He took a deep breath and pushed it open, expecting the worst. But what he found was not the clutches of the demonic Mario. Instead, he was met with the sight of a lone toad, cowering in the corner. The little creature looked up at Brandon with wide, terrified eyes, his voice shaking as he spoke. "Your girlfriend, she's in another game,"